name is Provides, a Year 2 PhD student at the CUHK, supervised by Professor Hendrik Tieben and Professor Jeroen van Ameijde. I'm very happy to share with you my research on digital commons, the role of extended reality, and gamification technologies in participatory design for high-density urban contexts. The aim is to inform methods of collective decision-making and community engagement within urban design, and the outcome should abstract principles of participation and a set of toolkits that may be generalized and applied to diverse design contexts within cities. At the same time, the reflection should contribute to critical theories of the digital commons. So the digital common is an emerging notion generally invoked to counter the dominant narratives of normalizing control through the datafication of cities. It involves the production, distribution, common stewardship and ownership of data, information, and technology that are understood as valuable resources that may be shared to catalyze community engagement. The notion encompasses the critical framework of collective actions and stakeholder-driven decisions through the design of social and technological infrastructures that are increasingly shifted towards the use of virtual worlds and 3D gaming tools in generating collectives and capital. In the built environment, there are potential applications in participatory design informed by common stewardship of digital resources, which poses questions on the commoning of authorship and assets. From such an interdisciplinary understanding, this research stands at the intersection of three core ideas: participatory design, extended reality, and gamification. Participatory design aims at actively involving all stakeholders within design and decision-making to ensure the outcome aligns with user interests and needs. Constrained and enabled by the varying abilities of participants, there can be different levels of engagement design, with consultation being the least engaged and co-production being the most. This research focuses on co-production. Its processes includes co-creation, the high-level information processing and ideation, co-planning, which prioritizes relationship between parts of the project, co-design, that centers on users' insights to establish new strategies in improving the final products, co-delivery, focuses on implementation and generally more feasibility-centric, and finally, co-evaluation, the building of local capacity and power sharing. Today, community engagement methods are increasingly driven by new digital tools such as extended reality, which is an umbrella term used to describe augmented reality, mixed reality, and virtual reality. A spectrum of immersiveness in virtual environments from the least to the most. And the first phases of this research experiment with VR to create immersive digital twins for crowd participation. While it provides benefits of understanding spatial qualities from street view and bottom-up perspectives that are more affective and sensorial, VR is challenged by the problem of breaching physical simulation and communication. Although the fantasy of the devices remains largely the same since the 1980s, when the term cyberspace first became popular in the science fiction neuromancer, which was used to describe the graphical representation of data abstracted from the banks of every computer in the human system. Till today, when the term metaverse rolls along with the 2018 movie Ready Player One, one may begin to question what may be the added social value of the technology and how our world of communication has actually changed in the past 2 decades that would trigger down into changes in our way of designing. Today, the video game industry has become one of the largest within global economy, with the League of Legends becoming an Olympic standard championship, PUBG that integrates live stream economy with mobile gaming to generate the highest gross revenue within the industry, and Pokemon Go that creates large-scale urban phenomena. But these are just some examples of how video game has become its own established field of study. A philosophy of gamification, which is the study of game mechanics into non-game environments for learning, interaction, and engagement. And through a kit of parts, architects begin diving into the world of serious games for participatory design. For instance, UN Habitat utilized Minecraft as a planning tool to produce public spaces. Video game urbanism make playable the Camden Notice to help residents understand how they may be affected by urban planning. Jose Sanchez created discrete components for the conceivement of a participatory housing platform. And Damian Jovanovic modularized modernist architecture into a sandbox of deconstructivism, where anyone can become a star architect. At the core of each project is how to democratize complex design knowledge, build up local capacity, collaboration, and communication, and make difficult tools simple and available to any individual, steepening the learning curve of design thinking from 3 years to 3 days or even 3 hours. From such examples, we may begin to see patterns of how design tools are made common using theories of modular and discrete, The modular may be understood as a high-threshold kit of predefined parts that highlights the basic knowledge needed to understand the meaning of the parts, but also the capacity and centrality needed to fabricate such parts. Much like LEGO Creator, which contains instructions and rules to inform players in building definitive outputs. Whereas the discrete may be understood as low-threshold systems with self-similar parts. And very similar to LEGO bricks, which enable players to build without constraint, but there is no guarantee of meaningful design outcome. One may begin to notice that while the bricks are suitable for anyone above the age of 4 to play, LEGO Creator requires some more mature mind and skills to game, and that highlights the difference between play and game. Finally, LEGO Gadget is a mix of both worlds. It is with these thoughts in mind that this research questions the role of XR and gamification tools within participatory design. How may gamification increase interactivity, engagement, and social value of immersive digital twins? How may XR tools be best utilized during a co-creation process, especially in learning the complexity of design problems and in understanding themselves and their needs as a community? How may gamification help to mitigate power relations, enhance inclusivity and literacy within participatory design? And all of which are contextualized within a high-density context, Hong Kong. So in Europe, a co-housing project may generally involve 20 to 40 households, whereas in Hong Kong, a public housing estate has on average 10,000 residents or more. Not only does it complicate a chain of commands and communication, its density challenges the representativeness of engagement, and its high-rise topology conditions the distribution of spatial resources. Its scalability requires centralization, while its design needs participation. The method is participatory design research that combines participatory action research and design research. While the latter studies processes of design in developing design methods, the former takes stakeholders as co-researchers in the process. And thus, it takes informants not merely as passive data subjects, but active contributors in the design research process. There are 3 main components within this research: survey, workshop, and experiment. The research process starts with initial surveying of community needs and quality of public space. Then it begins to plan a series of engagement workshops with local community centers and officers to set design agenda. The gameplay is being reviewed and updated after each workshop, taking stakeholders' feedback and co-creation as input for the next stage. And from preliminary findings, experiments will be designed with more control setting to scrutinize specific problems found within the participatory design process. So the project targeted a public housing estate with more than 9,000 residents and a new elderly rental block to be completed next year, calling for an intergenerational approach to participation where users of different age groups are mixed into teams of 4 during co-creation process. The gameplay was divided into 5 parts. Players are first invited to empathize through user journey mapping and virtual site tour. Then an immersive minigame for icebreaking, preparing players to work with VR and as a team. Afterwards, each team defines problems, goals, and begins to ideate and plan the public space. Finally, visualizing co-creation in VR and presenting their outcome to others. Players may win the game as a team by collecting reward badges based on their engagement, creativity, willingness to help others, ability to lead the discussion, and synthesize conflicting values. Concerns of digital inclusivity provoked the project to develop different gameplay interfaces that combine physical and digital for a more collaborative approach. Team members with different capacities may take on different tools that are more intuitive and expressive for the individual and contribute in their own unique way. Considering problems of digital literacy, high school students are recruited as local youth leaders. Training is provided through games so they may be familiar with design knowledge and VR operations to assist other members of the community. Also, caution has been given to health and safety of users who are differently abled, especially with the use of VR headsets that may easily cause sickness to younger children and older adults. Thus, a web-based VR platform has been chosen, which is accessible by multiple players via computer, mobile phones, or VR headsets. A total of 5 workshops have taken place so far. Each workshop had a different mix of age groups, but all involved residents, public actors, and designers, generating both qualitative and quantitative data. Pre- and post questionnaires are used to understand how the gameplay changes players' understanding. The co-creation outcome is compared with architect's outcome. Peer exercise, where players map each other's daily journey in the estate, and a co-research on how public spaces are used. Finally, content analysis of group discussion, and engagement analysis through interval sampling of body gestures. The co-creation outcome showed us the varying needs of the community and the feasibility of immersive tools for intergenerational engagement. For instance, during Workshop 1, the outcome from all teams are highly consistent in expressing the lack of supermarkets, pharmacy, and intergenerational spaces in the estate, especially for an aging society. As the site has been discretized with standard sizes, it also shows how most players prioritize such needs in larger modules. And during group discussion, some older adults expressed that it was difficult for them to walk out of the estate to adjacent shopping malls, highlighting the urgency of the issue. And through the user journey maps, we can understand how they have to go to adjacent estates for their daily exercise and community meetings because of better facilities. And by comparing architecture student designs with the co-creation outcome, we can see how students try to diversify community activities, whereas collaborating with residents help them to better understand poverty in basic facilities. From the initial finding, a few next steps have been concluded to articulate the gameplay for different design agendas and re-engagement span, to promote group dynamics while mitigating power relations between social groups through experimenting with different game mechanics and pseudonymous virtual environments, to help players understand the implications of their design decisions and enhance a sense of realness and achievement by visualizing co-creation outcomes on-site using AR technologies, to share power through co-evaluation and assessing how representative are the design outcomes, to understand how much has been learned in the process and how creativity may be stimulated, especially in their ability to understand design thinking and helping others in the future. And finally, to develop aspects of co-learning and nurturing local leads with a sense of awareness, interest, and knowledge of design that may produce longer-term impact, beyond simply learning how to use the tools. And finally, I'd like to thank my supervisor, my school, and student helpers who are involved in the project and help make it feasible. Thank you so much, and if you would like to collaborate, welcome to scan the QR code and get in touch.